Hey everyone, I'm Michael Short. Come on, let's go outdoors. Well, welcome to Dismal Creek, what is perhaps considered to be the heartbeat of the Pembina water system, especially when it comes to Arctic Grayling. I was invited to join Northwest Regional Fisheries Manager Keown Wilcox, Senior Fisheries Biologist Mike Blackburn, and the President of the Alberta Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, Neil Keown, to participate in a creel survey of this important tributary of the Pembina River.
Dismal Creek has depressed grayling populations. However, it has a really good size structure. So we have babies, we have subadult and juveniles, and we have adults. We catch fish throughout Dismal Creek, albeit there's not in really, really high numbers, but they're in enough numbers that we think that they can recover, and this is where we would be the first signal of any kind of recovery in the Upper Pembina system.
Dismal Creek, along with the Pembina and other tributaries, has been closed to angling since 2016. It was a tough decision fisheries managers felt they had to make.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to fathom that the fish are in such dire straits that we would have to close a fishery. I think it's hard for me to fathom. It's definitely hard for someone to fathom that's not in the creeks every day. So it's a hard concept to get across. But for the most part, I haven't had lots of sticks and stones thrown. So I'm trying to get the message out there and the data out there so that people see what we're doing, and it's not a secret.
So just what are the biologists looking for that would trigger a reopening?
Using standardized techniques, which is looking for that full size structure. So we are looking for those juveniles. That's going to be a great sign of recruitment, and one of those thresholds that I know we're looking for is larger fish, in the Pembina overall here. And with Dismal Creek certainly being not only the biggest tributary to Dismal, sort of one where we do see typically that size structure. It has been the nursery for Arctic Grayling for the Pembina.
The Pembina and a number of its tributaries have been monitored by members of the Northern Lights Fly Fishers Club, a chapter of Trout Unlimited Canada. They're recommending caution when it comes to any consideration of opening up the system to angling.
It's looking promising, but those fish are in peril, and if we can help them out a little bit more, I'm in favor of extending a closure a little bit longer, just to make sure that we've got it right.
Now, grayling were not the only fish we managed to land during our time on this beautiful stream.
Brook trout are naturalized. We don't see brook trout being necessarily removed at the Pembina certainly at this point in time. It's not under consideration. I think we recognize the challenges of brook trout, and understanding that with recovery in terms of trying to bring grayling back in the watershed, brook trout can be a competitor. So there are something that when we think about options going forward, brook trout certainly have to be in that conversation.
One thing to bear in mind about the closure is allowing for enough time in order for the grayling to mature.
So for example, when the fishery was closed in 2016, if there was a 1-year-old fish, it would now be 7 or 8 years old, and that could be potentially the full lifespan of a grayling. So in order to see any kind of real strides made on recovery, we need to wait like a few generations before we could see that interest pay off.
There has also been some movement in working with industry and helping to improve water quality.
We've seen some help from industry. We lobbied one of the companies a few years ago, told them one of the oil companies, and told them about a concern that we had with sediment around one of their bridges. They actually came in and replaced the bridge, so that was pretty promising. We made a bit of headway as well. AEP has been talking with some folks in the forestry side of things, and we started to influence some of the forestry land uses. So that's a positive move as well.
In this case, it was actually clearly demonstrated that yes, even though there's been a closure in place for quite a few years, the recruitment of the fish is still not great. But that being stated, and this was actually discussed at length with the biologists, it's always nice to have these goalposts, like what are we trying to work towards? Once we get past a certain population count, is that when we begin entertaining opening up a watershed again, or in this case a stream, to fishing? It's always nice knowing what the metrics are, and that's something that we know that the government is working very diligently on trying to fulfill to help satisfy those answers.
And based on what we saw out on this creek, the future may be more positive than negative in terms of Arctic grayling returning in strong numbers.
What we seen today in the demonstration was we're able to catch really, really young fish, maybe 1-2-year-old grayling, all the way up to some adults. So we're talking 35 centimeter grayling. So we've seen babies, we've seen subadults and adults. So like I said, a really, really good foundation. And it's really, I was really happy to see some of those really, really small fish that we were unable to hook. But that's a good sign of recruitment to come. So hopefully that they keep multiplying, and we have nothing but positive things to say about Dismal Creek and the Pembina.